So the Daily Beast and some other outlets are reporting that Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm going to quote them here, Marjorie Taylor Greene reportedly pursued Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez around the House chamber and started screaming about Antifa and Black Lives Matter. So I believe there was a clip, I think it was on CNN, and one of the reporters who was in the vicinity apparently said that she saw the whole thing unfold. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was on her way walking out. Marjorie Taylor Greene was calling her name. AOC didn't turn around to acknowledge her, and so Marjorie Taylor Greene sped up and at one point basically started running, and when she caught up to AOC, it looked like she was basically screaming at her. AOC threw her hands up and started responding in an exasperated way, and apparently that's where it ends. I don't know if anybody was close enough to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to hear what she was saying in response to Marjorie Taylor Greene, but there were plenty of people who heard when Marjorie Taylor Greene was screaming, and it was about Antifa and it was about Black Lives Matter, and basically she was saying, debate me. So there's a number of thoughts I have about this. First of all, go do some legislating. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what they're doing or why they're focusing on this. Don't you have bills to pass, or don't you have meetings in committees or some shit? Like, what are you doing? What are you wasting your time doing? I don't understand this. You have made it to the prominent, powerful position. So use it. Use it the right way. Actually influence legislation. The second point is, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a debate bro, and where she belongs is on YouTube. And it brings me no pleasure to say that because, I mean, this is my stomping ground, and I wouldn't want my stomping ground to be besmirched by the presence of such a moron. But listen, that is where she belongs. She would, if she was on YouTube, she would already have over 1 million subscribers. She would be like the female version of Steven Crowder, except somehow even dumber than Steven Crowder. And that's hard because Steven Crowder's really dumb. But that's the vibe I get from her. That's the sense I get from her. And there might even be a stretch of an argument that AOC should be on YouTube and shouldn't necessarily be in Congress. But anyway, I digress from that. The third point is, as I was reading this story and as I was listening to the reporter who was nearby explain it, I was thinking, I really wish the world was as simple as Marjorie Taylor Greene thinks it is. Because in Marjorie Taylor Greene's world, Democrats are bad, full stop. All the Democrats are evil and bad. And all the Republicans are good, or virtually all of the Republicans are good. And in her mind, you just turn on One American News Network or Newsmax, and whatever they're saying is gospel. It is straight from God. You can take it to the bank. No need to question whether or not it's accurate. And part of me is jealous of somebody who can see the world in such a simplistic way where everything is black and white. Because knowing the reality of politics, it's so complicated and so complex. And the fact of the matter is, virtually all of the elected Republicans are corrupt sellouts, and like 80% of the Democrats are corrupt sellouts, albeit in a slightly different way. And like very few people are representing us, and the ones who are representing us are incredibly weak and pathetic and scared of their own shadow. So I wish the world was as simple as Marjorie Taylor Greene thinks it is, because it'd be a lot easier to sleep at night and you'd have very hard, definitive answers, which is something that, you know, gives you a certainty, and there's a comfort in that I don't think people who understand the true nature of the world have. And then the final point is this. It occurred to me that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she really gets shit nonstop all day from the right. So you have Fox News go after her all day, the other fringe networks, One American News Network, Newsmax, they go after her all day, right-wing YouTubers go after her all day, the politicians on the right go after her all day, literally in the case of Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is chasing her down. But then you also have Democratic leadership hates Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and they've gotten into a number of high-profile fights where Pelosi in a number of interviews has thrown Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez under the bus repeatedly. So she gets it from the right, she gets it from Democratic leadership in her own party, and then she also gets it from the left online, including from me, because I think she's been doing a pretty poor job lately in terms of actually getting the results that we need. So it's got to be alienating. She effectively has no friends right now, except the other members of the squad who are equally incapable of using their leverage to extract concessions for the American people. So she's got to feel like lonely and alienated and isolated. And so on the one hand, I feel bad for her, but on the other hand, I mean, I guess what I would say is she should have thrown her lot in with the left, and she should have lived up to the idea of the Justice Democrats, which was to be a Tea Party of the left, and to really go after Democratic leadership. You don't sit back and let Democratic leadership go after you as you call Pelosi Mama Bear and try to fit in. So on the one hand, I feel bad for her because it must be really lonely, but on the other hand, it's like, well, you made your bed and now you gotta sleep in it. It definitely didn't have to be the case that a lot of people on the online left turned on her, but again, she made that bed and so she's gonna sleep in it. But here's one thing that's for sure. I do sympathize with her in dealing with a total moron like Marjorie Taylor Greene, because Marjorie Taylor Greene is a clown of all clowns. She's a debate bro. She belongs on YouTube, and she also greatly overestimates her own intelligence. It's hilarious that she's repeatedly called Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez dumb. It's like, whatever you think of AOC, I have zero doubt that she's a hell of a lot smarter than Marjorie Taylor Greene. So anyway, in conclusion, I'll go back to my original point. Go do some legislating. Go pass some bills. Go have committee meetings or some shit. Enough with chasing each other around on the House floor begging for debates like your YouTubers.